Alright, so first I need to make sure that all my tools are open. So I have my VSCode open with my Ruby file. And over here, sorry, let me delete that. I have my terminal. So just to make sure that it's connected, I'm going to do a puts hit and slide back over and do a Ruby grocery store. Alright, we have hit. So I know it's correct. So I'm going to do these basic objectives into different parts. So the first time, for this first one, I'm going to bring this down. And how I'm going to do that is holding Shift, Option, and the down arrow key. Wherever my cursor is in the code, it will duplicate a new copy of that line. So if this thing was all the way to the right, it would copy that whole thing down. Again, that's Shift, Option, and then you can do up or down on the arrow key. Then I'm going to hold Option, and again with the arrow keys, I'm going to move him down. I'm going to give him some space here so we can get started. So display a menu in the console for users to interact with. If I hold FN, I can go to the very far right by pressing a arrow key of my code. I like to keep my hands right on the keyboard, right where they should be, to make typing a lot faster. So I'm going to display a menu in the console for the user to interact with. So first, let's create a menu. And I might have multiple menus in this code block, so I'm actually going to say main menu, be a little bit more descriptive. Do a puts and say, I always like to welcome my user. Welcome to the DPL grocery store of your dreams. It's that kind of grocery store. I'm going to give them a menu, and we're just going to hard code some of these numbers in. Again, Shift Option, down arrow key, and I'm going to then just go down the list and change some of these. Now, I probably won't need this many. In fact, I'm not going to need 7. I'll probably need 5 or 4. Let's give him an exit, and then let's make sure that we call our main menu. Oh, see, I didn't even spell it correctly or name it correctly. So we have our main menu, and I'm not even going to go and do anything else. I'm going to go and test to see if that works. There we go, and it does work. Welcome to the DPL grocery store. Also, if anyone has any questions about my terminal themes, feel free to ask. All right, so back to our code. So we need to have the user interact with this. We are displaying a menu in the console, and now we need the user interact. How we're going to do that is we're going to do a gets. But I don't want this gets to just do nothing. I want it to be able to store this user's information, this user's input somewhere. So I'm actually going to set it to a choice or a variable. And why don't I do user input for here? I'm going to keep it a local variable now just because I don't know if it needs to be used elsewhere currently. We're going to do a get strip, and we're also going to do a to_i. Strip is going to remove any other extra spaces on the beginning or end of the user input, and the to_i is going to convert it to an integer. And just so that we know that we're getting that user's information correctly, I'm going to do a puts just to give us some space, and then here I'm going to say user input. This is how I'm checking that I'm setting up this gets correctly. By the way, I have autosave on my Visual Studio Code, so I do not have to continually be hitting Command S. I've probably saved a whole minute by not pressing Command S over and over again. So let's go and run this. Welcome to DPL grocery store of your dreams, and boom, I have hit my gets. So I'm going to type hello, and we get a 0. So we have our puts, that's a blank, and a 0. I wanted to show you this because that is what our to_i is doing. I think different characters on your keyboard will have different values, but if Ruby recognizes that what you're typing isn't a number, it's going to convert it. So let's type it again, and let's put 4. And we got 4. Perfect. So now I'm going to actually create a more in-depth menu and maybe a case statement that lets the user go to these places. So let's move main menu down a little bit, because main menu is going to be where we start. Before we move on from this menu, something I like to do is I actually like to get a user's name. And this is just an extra step that you don't have to do, but it makes it a little bit more fun for me. So I'm going to, before I welcome them, or actually after I welcome them to the grocery store of their dreams, so I'm going to try and get their name after I welcome them. I'm going to do another put that says, what is your name, friendo? I'm going to do another gets. And this time I am going to set it to an instance variable name. Maybe we'll do something more specific, username, so that I can use username throughout my rest of my Ruby application because it is scoped to outside of this method. Then I'm going to welcome them again and say puts welcome. I'm going to interpolate, which is the octothorpe or hashtag, and 2 curly brackets. I have a extension that auto-completes that for me. It's very nice. And then I can type that same instance variable, username. Maybe I'll put a comma and say, what would you like to do today? Then I'm going to give them choices, get the user input, and that's where we're at so far. So let's go ahead and test this out. What is your name, friendo? Type Harlan. Welcome, Harlan. I am receiving that correctly. Good news. And it doesn't matter what I put because it's going to end anyways. So now I want to check that user's information, or that user input to send the user where we want them to go. So if I look in the basic objectives, we want to add items, we want to display items, remove an item, and show the total cost of our user. So why don't we, instead of a puts here, let's do a case statement. So we do a case of a user input. Now what this is saying is whatever user input is, we're going to determine that and give the user a bunch of directions that they're going to go. Our code is going to decide that whatever the user input is, we decide what happens. So we know we have 1, 2, 3, 4 for now. I know we're going to need more, so let's just create these 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5. We're going to do an else, and we cannot forget our end. So when 1, we're going to add items. So maybe go shopping or something. So add items. We haven't created this yet, but I know I'm going to create that method. Display all items in the cart. So maybe we'll do view items. We're going to remove, so remove item, and show total cost of all the items in carts. So show cost. Then when 5, we can do exit. I like to put a little, friendly little thank you, come again. Or, maybe something very nasty and saying, see ya, dude, you suck. Always a good time. But we also want to take in mind that the user, like I originally did, I wrote hello, and we got a 0. What if the user doesn't put in 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? That's where our else comes in. I'm going to say something like, puts, you can't choose that, dum-dum. Try again. Now, if I were to just leave it like this, again, once we've only called our main menu down below, our program would then cease to exist. It would stop. So I need to send them back to main menu to give them another try. And we're very kind because we can let them try as many times as they want, even though it shouldn't be that hard. I'm going to make it a little more descriptive up here. So, and this is where it doesn't have to be super complicated. I'm going to say something like go shopping or add items. I like go shopping. That's fun. see items in cart. We're going to remove item from cart. Again, see we needed, if I hold Shift Option, it highlights by word and the space next to it, and the right arrow key, sorry. Then we're going to, need to change this to a 4 and this to a 5. This is going to be view total cost. How about that? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create all of these methods really quickly so that when I press 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, we can see what happens to make sure all of these work. All right, and what I like to do is I like to put in basically what the method will be doing. All right, before we get any further, let's test this out and then I will continue on the next video. So let's give this a test. So let's test this out. Hello, friendo. We're going to be Bob today, and I'm going to go shopping. That works. We're going to be trying all of these out, so it doesn't really matter what we call ourselves. And let's see if we press 5. We get a see you, dude, you suck. Perfect. All right, so we have now done, the first objective is displaying a menu in the console for the user to interact with. And I will see you guys in the next video.